Rosanna did not pay last month's credit card bill in full. Her daily balances for her last billing cycle are listed. What was Rosanna's average daily balance to the nearest cent? And then they give us her daily balances. So for 7 days, she owed a certain amount, then for 3 days, for 6 days, for 9 days, for 5 days. All listed here. And we need to find the average. So let's start by talking about the mistake. The mistake would be to say, okay, I need to find average. I'm just going to take all these numbers, I'm going to total them, and then I'm going to divide by 5 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. That is the mistake. So don't do that. Notice that these numbers hold different weights, okay? Because some of them were her balances for longer times than others. So the reason they wrote it this way was to save space. They could have written it longhand, which would have been to say she owed $456.11, then she owed $456.11, then she owed $456.11, and so on 7 times, and then they would repeat this number 3 times, this number 6 times, 9 times, 5 times. So rather than actually listing out about 30 numbers for us, they just abbreviated, okay? So we have to account for the fact that these numbers have different weights. So here's what we'll do. We'll say, okay, an average is just equal to a total divided by number of whatever. So in this case, we're talking about days. So we're going to take the total and divide by the total number of days. So to do that, we have to account for each of these balances. So here's what we'll say. We'll say our average is equal to 456.11 times 7 because they held that balance for 7 days. This is equivalent to writing out 456.11 plus 456.11 and so on 7 times. Okay? So that's our first balance. Then we add $1,077 times 3 because they held that balance for 3 days. So again, continuing here, that'd be like adding this 7 times. Or excuse me, 3 times. Okay. Our next balance is $900.08. So we add $900.08 and we multiply by the number of days, which is 6. Keep going. She owed $2,113.15 for 9 days, so we multiply by 9. And finally, our last one, for 5 days, she owed $2,310.15. We multiply by 5. Okay? So I could have written it out all longhand like this, but then I would have ended up writing out 30 numbers, which I didn't really want to do. So again, this is just an abbreviated version. So this whole statement is my numerator. It's my total. Now I divide my total by the total number of days. Now again, you might be tempted to just say there are 5, so the total number of days is 5, but we have to count these individually. So we say, what's 7 plus 3 plus 6 plus 9 plus 5? And the answer is 30. So we have to divide all that by 30. Be very careful when you punch this into the calculator. And then we'll find that our average is $1,413.11. So again, the actual math here, doing these multiplications and the addition and then finally the division, is not so complicated. It's just making sure that we set up the problem correctly. Let's do one more example. So this time, instead of just giving us a short paragraph of the balances, they give us a small table. We're told to find the average daily balance of the account, including new purchases. So again, remember that our average daily balance, or any average in general, is going to be equal to the total, in this case we're talking about a total balance, divided by the number of things you're talking about. In this case, we're talking about days. So we need to find the total balance, and we're going to divide it by a number of days. So let's take this one row at a time. So if we look at the first row for February 1st through 10th, They tell us the end of day balance is 153.78 for 10 days. Notice that they've already done the multiplication for us. So instead of having to actually write out 153.78 times 10, we can just write in this number, which is 1,537.80. They've already done that part for us. Let's look at the next row. The next balance was $240.20 for 1 day. So that's the number we write, because 240.20 times 1 is still $240.20. Okay, let's look at the next one. On the next date range, the balance was $240.20 for 9 days. So they took that number and multiplied it by 9 to get $2,161.80. Next, we have $175.20. That was the balance for 1 day, so we add $175.20. And finally, we have $175.20 for 7 days. $175.20 times 7 is $1,226.40. Okay, so this is our grand total. Again, we could have written out these numbers individually. I could have written 153.78 10 times. I could have written 240.20 9 times. I could have written 175.20 7 times, but it's so much faster just to start by doing the multiplication and use the sum of balances instead. The last piece I need is the total number of days there are, and they've even totaled that for me. They say that the total number is 28, so I divide by 28. Again, be very careful with typing this into your calculator. I really encourage you to just practice that now and double check that you come out with the answer 190.76. So again, when doing average daily balances, be careful to avoid the obvious mistake, which is just to add up the numbers you see for end of day balance and then divide by the number of balances, in this case 5. Make sure that you take into account the number of days the account held that balance. Okay? Make sure you take into account the number of days the account held that balance, meaning this multiplication piece. And make sure when you divide that you're not just dividing by the total number of different numbers you see, but you're actually dividing by the total number of days.